Γεια σας φίλοι μου. Μεγάλη εβδομάδα. Σήμερα θα σας ταξιδέψω στην πόλη των Αγγέλων, στον καθεδρικό ναό της Αγίας Σοφίας. Αυτή τη φορά η επιθυμία των κατοίκων του LA είναι να δείξω την Αγία Σοφία. Το ραντεβού μου το έκλεισε η επιχειρηματίας άνθρωπος και φίλη, η Βίκη Άρμονης Παπουλιά. Σε ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ Βίκη μου, σου εύχομαι να έχεις ένα υπέροχο, χαρούμενο Πάσχα εσύ και η οικογένειά σου. Τώρα μπαίνουμε στον ιερό ναό της Αγίας Σοφίας. Αυτόν τον υπέροχο ναό που έχουν ήδη αρχίσει προετοιμασίες για τη Μεγάλη Παρασκευή, για τον Επιτάφιο και για τη Μεγάλη Μέρα της Ανάστασης. Τη Μεγάλη Παρασκευή εδώ θα δείτε τον Tom Hanks να σηκώνει στους ώμους του τον Επιτάφιο. Ο Tom Hanks εδώ παντρεύτηκε τη Ρίτα Wilson και εδώ βαφτίστηκε. Σε αυτό εδώ το προαύλιο κάθε Πάσχα γίνονται μεγάλα ελληνικά γλέντια. Ένας χαμός. Εδώ έρχονται πολλές προσωπικότητες του Hollywood, γιατί οι δικοί μας Έλληνες, όπως ο Τζιμ Γιαννόπουλος και η Άννα, η γυναίκα του Γιαννόπουλου, έχουν φέρει στην εκκλησία μας πάρα πολλούς celebrities. Έχω γνωρίσει την Άννα στην Αντίπαρο. Είναι μια υπέροχη κυρία και χαίρομαι πραγματικά που τη γνώρισα και που κρατάμε επαφή. Μπουζούκια, ελληνικό φεστιβάλ, δημοτική χορή, με γκρικ σουβλάκι, μουσακά, παστίτσιο, λουκουμάδες. Όλοι οι celebrity από το Hollywood μαζεύονται εδώ. Την παράσταση πάντα κλέβει ο ιερέας της Αγίας Σοφίας, Τζον Μπάκας. Μια πολύ διαφορετική προσωπικότητα. Θέλω να σας πω ότι είναι η ψυχή των events.
Έχουμε το φεστιβάλ, έχει το λαός και τραγουδάω με τα μπουζούκια εδώ.
Φεύγοντας από τον υπέροχο αυτό ναό, προχωράμε και πάμε να κάνουμε μία συνέντευξη έκπληξη, εγώ έτσι τη θεωρώ τουλάχιστον, από τον πατέρα Τζον Μπάκας. Τη συνέντευξη την έκανε η δημοσιογράφος και μοναδική φίλη Κατερίνα Πλουμιδάκη. Σε ευχαριστούμε Κατερίνα, έχει ενδιαφέρον. Παρακολουθήστε την.
Ας κοινωνήσουμε. Φάγαμε φακές όλη την εβδομάδα και φουσκώσαμε και ας καθίσουμε να ευχαριστήσουμε τον Θεό. So Easter then should be more than just μαγειρίτσα and firecrackers and all of this other kind of festivities that are phony. You can eat margherita anytime. Giannis has no clue what the church is. Most of Orthodox Christians, το σταυρό τους, το μπουζούκι.
Yes.
Το σταυρό τους, ανάβω το κερί, την εικόνα κτλ. Γιατί το κάνεις αυτό Γιάννη μου? Δεν ξέρω παιδί μου, έτσι το έκανε η γιαγιά μου, έτσι, that's my grandmother, I do the same thing. Γιαγιά, τι λέει ο παπάς? Δεν ξέρω παιδί μου, αλλά είναι ωραία.
Exactly.
Ο Χριστός δεν ήρθε να μας τα κάνει ωραία. Christ didn't come, he came to unite us to himself in the context of the triune God. Νομίζω ότι το έργο σας δεν είναι μόνο κάτι που είναι στην τηλεόραση και στο ίντερνετ, είναι κάτι πνευματικό. Όλα αυτά θα γίνουν με τη χάρη του Θεού. Επειδή είναι κάτι πνευματικό και είναι κάτι από την καρδιά, θα γίνει. Θα γίνει και θα έχετε ωραία αποτελέσματα και θα έχετε την ευλογία του Θεού. Αυτό το νιώθω μέσα στην καρδιά μου. Your Wish Channel. Σ' αγαπώ. Σ' αγαπώ καλή μου κυρία που είσαι ωραία. Σ' αγαπώ γιατί είσαι ωραία. Σ' αγαπώ γιατί είσαι εσύ.
Παρακολουθήστε όλη τη συνέντευξη του Τζον Μπάκα χωρίς μοντάζ. Θέλω να ευχηθώ καλό Πάσχα με υγεία, ειρήνη, αγάπη σε όλους σας.
Really happy to be here. Basically, we've heard about you all over the world. I've been here, actually, yes. And you're well known in Greece, and I've been several times because I've been to LA in Easter time. So I've been several times to your church Easter time, and it's always so packed that you can't even park outside. So all these people come over here, and you've done such a big. You've been here all these years, and you've done so much for this church. And basically, I would like you to tell us exactly what you have done and how long has it taken and how difficult it has been.
What people have to understand who look at the Greek Orthodox Church, first of all, when we say Greek, we do not mean ethnic.
Okay.
Because when you ask someone, they say, I'm Roman Catholic. You don't say, oh, are you Italian? Greek is not an ethnic designation. It is a designation of the eastern part of the church, of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. It is the old Byzantine, it had no ethnicity. You can be Greek Orthodox and be from Asia.
Okay.
We have African Americans in our congregation. We have a variety of ethnicities who happen to be Greek Orthodox, who have accepted the Orthodox theology and the Orthodox style of life, which has an involvement of Hellenism, but not in the Hellenism where do you have to be Greek to be a member of the Greek Orthodox Church. So the Orthodox Church, Greek Orthodox, is ecumenical. That's why in the Creed we say is μίαν Αγίαν Καθολικήν και Αποστολικήν Εκκλησία. We are Catholic with a small c, which means that the church is universal. So here in Los Angeles we have a Korean cantor. We have 4 African American altar servers. And so we have almost 90% of our weddings are interfaith marriage.
Right.
So our issue is, do we lose Yanni to Charlotte's Presbyterian Church, or do we bring Charlotte to our way?
So what happens?
What happens is, Yannis has no clue what the church is. Most of Orthodox Christians, το σταυρό τους, I call them το μπουζούκι.
Yes.
Το σταυρό τους, ανάβω το κερί, την εικόνα κτλ. Γιατί το κάνεις αυτό, Γιάννη μου? Δεν ξέρω, παιδί μου, έτσι το έκανε η γιαγιά μου, έτσι, that's my grandmother, I do the same thing. What do you believe? Do you believe? Ask anyone who goes to church here or in Greece, why are you here?
They don't know, do they?
No, because they don't know the meaning of why the church is here. Some here come for coffee and fellowship afterwards. My father, when we grew up in New Mexico, would come to church because he would see his friends from Kalamata. Τι γίνεται στο χωριό, what's going on? Now you have the internet, you don't need that.
So what can we do for our kids to find out all about the church and not be so ignorant?
Well, first of all, we have to make our beliefs, our liturgy, relevant to the people. What does it mean to the young person who is struggling to find work? What does it mean to the person who is tempted with drugs or behaviors that may have consequences? You can't go to church and all of that, I'm sorry to say, even in Greece, is monkey business.
Because we don't understand what they're saying.
No, γιαγιά, τι λέει ο παπάς? Δεν ξέρω, παιδί μου, αλλά είναι ωραία.
Exactly.
Ο Χριστός δεν ήρθε να μας τα κάνει ωραία. Christ didn't come. He came to unite us to himself in the context of the triune God. So that the young people will respond if they realize that the church offers a spirituality that fills the empty spaces of the heart. Because even in Greece, in the most difficult times, you have young people who refuse to work, but they'll get Bulgarians and Albanians to work. Yet our grandfathers went to the fields, they did whatever it was, they worked on the ships, they cleaned bathrooms. Όχι, παιδί μου, ο παππούς θα μου δώσει τα 10 ευρώ, το χατζηλίκι, θα κάθομαι στο καφενείο with my cigarette and with my phone. And I'm sorry, I'm being honest and practical. Ναι, μαλάκα, τι κάνεις? Χωρίς τη λέξη αυτή δεν υπάρχει λεξικό στην Ελλάδα. Αν το κόψεις αυτό. Λοιπόν, και τους βλέπω κάθονται εκεί, καπνίζουνε και τρώνε από τον παππού. Αντί να πούνε ότι ο ίδρωτας είναι μία αναβάπτιση.
So what have we done wrong and our kids are like that?
Well, we haven't done wrong because our parents and others suffered.
They did.
The Katouhi, the World War, the Civil War, the difficulty in the 50s and the 60s where people had to work.
Out in the fields.
Out in the fields. Some people came to Australia, America, Canada. They worked, they sent money back.
Exactly.
To help get their sister married, etc., etc. But today, even in the most difficult times, I don't believe anyone is starving. Now, we don't all have BMWs.
But no one is really starving.
But no one is starving.
That's why they're at the cafeteria.
Yeah, nobody's starving. If you look at photographs from the 40s and 50s, you'll see children in Greece who are hungry. After the war, or during the war, you saw bodies in Athena in front of the Grand Britannia, people who were dying and they were afraid to claim the bodies lest they get in trouble. So Greece has gone through very difficult times. These are not difficult times compared, but we're spoiled. And notice the church. The church has liturgies at 8 o'clock in the morning, okay? But the kids are out partying till 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning.
Exactly, yes.
They're going to come to church at 8?
No.
To hear what?
Yeah. And as you said, they don't understand.
Number one, they don't understand. The language of the liturgy is not the language of the people. Yet the Catholic Church, the Catholic Church in Greece has plain Greek. I was in Patras with some friends, and I happened to bump into a Roman Catholic church. I walked in, I wasn't dressed like this, and they were speaking, "Ας προσευχηθούμε στο Θεό, αδελφοί." Okay? So people said, "Αυτό το καταλαβαίνω." With his δυσκολίες μου, with all my difficulties. So the church has to realize that it cannot be a museum. It cannot be a relic of phony ancient times of Byzantium, which were not very glorious anyway.
And how can this change take place, though?
My dear friend, it will not take place. The change will not take place institutionally. Because what I'm saying now, there are some people in Greece, especially clerics and monks, who will call me a heretic.
Really?
Of course. Because I'm not big, number one. I think monasticism is a part of our tradition.
In Greece.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they know me in Greece. The point is the church has to be in somewhat relevant to the way where the people are needing. I'm not suggesting we change our theology, but we expose our theology, which is true and eternal, to make it real to the young person who is wondering what are they going to do with life. To teach them the meaning of prayer. Not to invite the priest over for an evchelio or a prayer.
And we only invite them when we're
when we're in trouble,
basically.
Or we invite them to the cemetery, and then it's always the facelo.
Oh yes, of course.
Of course. Now I understand that. But it ought not to be something that you expect. If someone gives you something, that's fine, but it should not be expected.
It is, though.
Yeah, we're not merchants of the sacraments. We're not merchants of blessings. That was what the Catholics did with the indulgences centuries ago, where you could pay your way into heaven by paying the church. How do you think St. Peter's was built in Rome? With the money collected from indulgences. So people today you cannot say pisteve και μη ερεύνα, believe and don't search, because we have the internet. You can find anything you want. You can find alla dogmata. And look, in Greece today, there are all kinds of groups starting up with yoga, Hindus, Buddhism, even the Mormons are having luck in Greece.
What luck are they having?
Well, they're getting converts.
Oh, they are?
Yes, indeed. They have a mission in Greece. They have churches, Mormon churches in Greece, yes.
Yes, but that is not that popular.
No, it's not that popular, but the fact that they even exist.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's like going to China and selling rice.
You're right.
The point that I'm saying is the Church of Greece has to say, where are we going? What are we doing? We cannot just say because this is the way it was. memories of the past alone can damage the future. What do we do? Should we be judged by the length of our beards? Or the length of our hair? Although St. Paul condemns long hair among men, 16th chapter of 1 Corinthians. A beard, it doesn't make anyone holier. People say, well, why do you have a beard, Father? I said, well, I'm covering a double chin. Jokingly.
But in Greece, it's so different, though.
Yeah, well, it is, but...
They all have the long beards.
Yeah, see, the longer the beard, the more you are wise. Well, if I don't shave for the next 3 years, I'll have a beard down to here. Does that mean that I'm more holy? Does that mean I am more righteous? Does that mean I'm more loving? Not necessarily.
So we need to grow the respect from within,
Exactly.
not from appearances, of course, but we need to educate our kids differently, I guess, towards the church, because I think that's what's going wrong.
Well, the religious education should not be just a history of who did this and this.
Exactly,
and,
that's what it is, though.
Yeah, Abraham, Isaac, Rebecca. It has to be based on faith. How do we connect a young person struggling to realize that there is a spiritual reality that can fill the empty spaces that
And
we all...
We are full of empty spaces, I think, in this
Of the heart.
era. Yes, full of empty spaces. And the more technology we have, the more empty spaces we have. We only believe in God when we feel that the plane is going to crash or something, when we're in danger.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's always when we're in danger. And we never say thank you to God for all the goods that we have. So all this has to become different, but I don't know from where to start. Because in Greece, as you know, Επισκέφτηκα, we memorize it. We don't understand what it's saying, we just memorize it.
Right. You can memorize the Lord's Prayer, and while you're saying it automatically, your mind can be what you're going to have for lunch.
It usually does. So we don't feel what we're reading.
Well, it's partly because we are a monopolistic institution in Greece of the church. It's either going to church or some of the men saying, Maria, πάρε 5 ευρώ και άναψε ένα κερί για μένα, εγώ θα πάω, I'm going to go with my friends στο καφενείο. So you see the church is often filled with ladies, women, and children, where the men, this is women's work, unless of course it's the big holidays. So the answer to many of those, oh, the churches are full. Oh, come and see the cathedral down, and it's full. Full of what? Yeah. I mean, are they going there for what reason? What is the reason? The reason for going to the liturgy, it's called the Holy Communion's Thea Eucharistia. It is to give thanks to God. It is to offer our pains and to say, God, I'm not sure I know where I'm headed. My relationship with my family is aching. I don't know if I'm going to have work next week. I'm starting to panic. I'm starting to have anxiety. I've been called by the school and my son was caught smoking hashish or marijuana. I don't know what to do. Give me strength, God. Now, this isn't the God of Hollywood where he gives us voices, but there are answers to prayer. A revelation, what we call sometimes, aha, I didn't expect this thought. It comes and we get strength. So when Jesus says, if you have faith, you can move mountains, he doesn't mean physical mountains. He means the mountains we all have in our life.
Exactly. And I would like to add to what you just said, all these self-help books that have become bestsellers, many of them, I don't want to name them, but very many of them, nearly all actually, are based on the Bible. They say nothing new. God has said everything, Christ has said everything. And what they're doing, they're reproducing all the stuff, and they have so many quotes from the Bible, from the passage, that they have taken it and they have put it in simple English and everyday modern language.
So everybody's looking, if I can just find that book, you hear commercials, buy this book and your whole life will change. A book does not change anyone's life. The Holy Bible does, not because it is a book, but it is what is contained in the book.
Because it's so strong.
The problem oftentimes with us is that we've forgotten the word discipline. We want it easy. We want a microwave theology.
Exactly.
We put it in, let it sit for a minute and a half, and it's prepared for us. the word thisia, sacrifice, or struggle, that it isn't, boom, here it goes. These things are not being taught. Because on the one hand, if we go to church once a week, let's say once a week for 1 hour, that's 4 hours a month.
Okay.
People watch 4 hours of television on a day, on an average basis, or more, especially the retired people. And you're bombarded with commercials that are overly sexualized and overly materialistic. If you buy this, you'll be happy, or you don't have to buy now, you can do it on terms. You deserve it. And so you're influenced by these things, and you buy and you buy and you buy and you put it on credit, and then when the bills come, we say, "What was I thinking?" And that's why in America, because of that, you have garage sales and yard sales, which are beginning in Greece now.
Yeah.
Because what was important for me to have now, I'm bored with it, so I'm going to put it for sale.
But why are they making us needy? Because we're so vulnerable. And why are we so vulnerable? Because we don't have any faith.
Well, we're vulnerable because we have lost the ability to understand what is needed and what is
Necessary.
and what is necessary and what is not. The person who is most complete, I think, and happy are those people who can control their desires.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
Who can control their desires. And if you can control your desires and appetites, you can find some sense of meaning in life. See, here we are as Orthodox Christians, we say it's Lent and nistέψουμε. Okay? So what do? Nistia means when you come home and someone says, Yanni, είσαι νηστικός, it means you didn't eat. So what do? We now have νηστίσιμο baklava.
Yeah.
We have nistissima kulurakia. We have, so now you can eat oyster, lobster, shrimp. When the bishop comes, shrimp and lobster and all of these things, misi franzola, 2 plates of lentils με ξύδι και λάδι. Καλή δύναμη. Τι δύναμη ευλογημένε.
So have a feast in the word of
It's not fasting, it's a food substitution. So we don't eat meat, and as a matter of fact, more and more people are not eating meat. What do you tell an Orthodox vegan to do for Lent?
What do you tell him?
Well, he or she has to fast from other behaviors. Maybe they're addicted to the internet. Maybe they're addicted to alcohol. There are other things that we crave that are not just food, but when people say nistevo, come on, give me a break. If you want real nistia, if your health permits, don't eat dinner and give the money that you would have spent at the restaurant and give it to a soup kitchen. Give it to a place where the people that are there who have difficulties, mental illnesses, what have you, they're not eating, and the church maybe gives them the sisitio, gives them food. That is fasting. Not because you don't eat paidakia and now you're eating shrimp.
Plus the fact that fasting is for health reasons. I mean, it's good to clear out our system, and we just gorge food. And as you know, our society is becoming sicker and sicker the past 50 years. It's much worse.
Well, fasting is good not only for religious reasons, because fasting without prayer, fasting without some spiritual guidance is just depriving yourself of food, because what is every other commercial on American TV? How to lose weight.
True.
How to lose weight.
True. But you think clearer when you fast, because I've done it, and
Yes.
I know I've done it for 2 weeks.
Yes.
That's my maximum, and your brain clears out when you fast. And I guess it's because your system, it doesn't have to send all the blood to digest, and your organs start to work better, and your mind starts to work better.
That's a benefit. But a Christian fasting is looking first at the spiritual benefits, and the physical benefits come as a result of the spiritual benefits. Because every religion has some form of fasting. Every religion has some form of fasting, formally or personally. So the key is not to have food substitution, but to really see that can I do without this food if health permits. Because remember, in the ancient tradition, meat was rare anyway, and meat was considered that if you ate meat, it had protein. So protein excited the passions, but vegetables calmed you down. And the key is the passions. What are the passions? Lust, greed, hate. So the more docile and calm you are spiritually, the less you're likely to fall into the kinds of things that cause difficulties.
Talking about hate, I think it's multiplying on our planet. I don't know what you think about it. There's so much hatred and passion about hatred. I mean, what can we do about it? I mean,
Well, see, the church...
what's wrong with us?
No, the church, because we go through the liturgy and it's, it just wrote, it says the priest invokes the power of the Holy Spirit, send down your Holy Spirit, Lord, upon us and upon these gifts here presented. We open ourselves up to different spirits, I believe. When you open yourself up in prayer to the Holy Spirit through fasting, you are filled with the spirit of love, non-judgmentalism, etc., etc. But you remember, there are other spirits there. There are evil spirits. And these spirits also look for a place
Within us.
If you remember the story of Jesus and the demoniac who was, he was released of his spirits, and they went into the pigs, and the pigs went and drowned because of that. People may say, oh, that's really cute little story, what do you expect from you ignorant religious types? But there are evil spirits, and those spirits breed hate, and I think some of that has affected our community. Take, for example, Nazi Germany. Here was this cultured, advanced people in technology, in science, in the arts, in music, and all of a sudden, the spirit of Satan, of evil, caused them to close their eyes, so that in a matter of 10, 15 years, they destroyed 6 million plus people.
It overcame them.
Yeah, overcame them.
So,
Yeah.
what is it? How can good overcome evil?
It's what you open yourself up to.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah. When you called and said you wanted to meet, I could have said, I'm busy.
Sure.
Go and talk to somebody else. But I open myself up to you, because you never know what you learn from someone who you unexpectedly meet. So it's what you open yourself up to. If you open yourself up to hate, and if you drink from the waters of hate and evil, that's what you're going to have.
But very many people are confused, and they don't open themselves up to anything. It just, something overcomes them. What do you do in that case? I mean, I don't think people really know what they want. I think very many people are confused. So what do we do about confused people?
Well, if you look at the people who claim they're confused or are confused, you'll see fundamentally they have no roots in anything. There is no particular philosophy, ideals that they live by. It's whatever comes next.
True.
Okay? Now, for a Christian, we have a rudder, the pedalion. We have a rudder, and that rudder is based on the scriptures, the writings, many of the writings of the Holy Fathers of the Church, who have gone through the same struggles that we have, and so we can get inspiration and instruction from them. But it's easier to sin than it is to do good, because it's easier.
It is.
Sometimes, so the point is, the key word is choice. What choices we make. And the other word that I'm preaching here at St. Sophia is why. One word. Why are you here? Why do we bring the gospel out? Why do priests wear vestments? Why do we have icons? Why do we have, somebody said, what is this thing, this purse you have, Father, with bells and smoke coming out of it? Why?
Yeah, I was going to say, so what are the whys?
Well, again, there are answers, but I'm not sure this is the place to talk about the answers. The whys are available, but it's up to us as priests and also those who teach in the church to just not say "Αυτή είναι παράδοση," And that's tradition. To say, this is why. The bells and the incense. Incense is an offering to God. It's as ancient as it could be. It is a fragrant offering to God. The bells are the joy. They're 12 bells, the joy of the apostles, the sound of the angels. It is offered to God, but it's offered to the people. You notice the icons get the incense to honor the image of Christ, the Virgin Mary, and the saints. We honor them, and then we turn to the congregation. Why? To add deodorant to the church? No, because you and I are made in the image of God.
Exactly.
So we reverence the image of God and the joy of bells.
But you need to tell us the whys so we can understand and come closer to God, because I think not knowing the whys is leaving us alone and confused. So we need to understand, as you said, even in Greece, we need to understand what the preacher's preaching.
Well, this is the challenge. We are doing this here because, again, we're not a state church. Every priest in America is encouraged to do the sermons, where oftentimes in Greece you have the iero, because you have a simple priest in a small town who may not have a great deal of education. He knows how to read, he knows how to chant. So here comes the iero, who starts to preach, and to justify himself he has to quote from the fathers, and people say, "Tipo papas, because you can't admit that you didn't understand. Because the Hierokyrikos now has to justify his title by quoting this and Maximus the Confessor and quoting that and the other, but it doesn't connect to the people. It doesn't connect to the person whose crop is ruined out in the fields because of whatever weather condition or rain, what have you. It doesn't connect. And so a lot of it then becomes superstition.
So I guess you over here, you can understand if you connect because you see their eyes and you can see if they're involved. And
well, if they come to see, nobody says you have to come to church here. There's no one that says you must go to church. Everything that we have, this building and everything else, everything we have is from the people. If people connect to what is being done, they will participate.
And they do.
And they do. They volunteer, they do all kinds of things. But if they leave the church after an hour, hour and a half, feeling worse than they came in, what's the point? If you go to church and the priest chews you out, then well, you're talking to the people who are there.
But they do that actually.
Yeah, when you chew people out, when you
yeah, but they do chew
malonis,
yes, they do.
What's the incentive? Are you coming in because you're afraid God will punish you?
No, on your own free
If my
will.
children don't do what I want, are they afraid I'm going to punish them? Of course not. If God is our Father, why would He punish us in such a way? We punish ourselves.
We do it all day.
Yeah, we punish ourselves by our choices. So these things have to be exposed, but no matter what you do, if you preach alpha, beta, or gamma, or if you don't do this, you're still going to get your pay every 2 weeks. So if I knew here that no matter what I did, I'm still going to get my merokamato. No, you have to say, what can we do to inspire the people, to get them to live a life that has some meaning? Everyone is looking for meaning.
Exactly.
Exactly. What meaning doesn't mean you have to be some famous person. Meaning could be even for the garbage man who picks up the garbage in the street. He can have meaning in doing that. He's providing a service in the community to keep things clean. He can also be educated, and while he's off, he can be reading a novel or poetry. But you see, we always think that those who have meaning somehow should be living in Kifisia or someplace else in big, mansions, and that's not the case. That's not the case, because we're all competing against each other.
True. As a conclusion, what would you like to tell us about inspiring the meaning to the people that you meet? What is your way of doing so?
Well, number one, I realize that I am like everybody else. Just because I wear a cross doesn't make me any different. I'm also seeking. The Lord
Wow.
created us to be
Okay.
seekers.
Okay.
So I try to help them to seek, because Jesus said, "Knock and it shall be opened unto you, ask and you shall receive." So the idea is that we're created to seek. When you stop looking, you're in a sense dying. Okay? When you stop looking, you're dying, and the Lord always provides something new. So, I mean, not new, but a continuation, because the Bible says Jesus was the same then, is the same now, and always the same. The sameness doesn't mean repetition. The sameness means that the foundation is still stable. So I encourage our people to look and see and ask. There are answers. And if there are no answers, there are no answers. Sometimes the answer is no.
So the ask, believe, receive doesn't
Sure.
apply?
Well, no, you receive by not receiving. For example, when I was 16 and I prayed to have a brand new car, and I was a poor boy, had my prayer been answered, I might have destroyed myself in that new car. The answer was no.
Okay, for your own good.
So oftentimes we expect to pray and ask, but we always want the answer that corresponds to our desires.
True.
Sometimes no is really the best thing for our desires, because certain things we ask for or we want can be destructive. Can be destructive.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So this is what the church should be doing. The church should not be an institution like the government. The church should be a place that helps. I call the church a divine travel agency.
Wow. Never thought of that.
A divine travel
very
agency.
true.
You go to a travel agent when you're going to a place that is not quite well known. So on this journey of our life, the church is a travel agency. It tells you, go on this path, because our experience over the many centuries says if you go on this path, you're going to fall. You're going to destroy yourself. Watch out for this. Be careful here. And as a mother or father would say to the children, the church, being the mother, is also guiding people. Now, do people listen? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But you notice what's happening. Today I just heard about this young person, 19 years old, committing suicide. They were part of that Parkland shooting some years ago.
Yes.
And so every day you see young people, you see people who are wealthy, famous in Hollywood, etc., committing suicide. Why?
Because they're lost.
They're lost, and there's that emptiness inside where nothing has meaning. Some try to anesthetize that desperation with liquor,
Or drugs.
or drugs, or behaviors where we
Addictive
exploit one
behaviors.
another.
Yeah, addictive behaviors.
Addictive behaviors.
Yes.
And it's such a pity, and that's where you have the spirit of evil coming in, and that's where you have the devil coming in and drawing us down. And so the church is here really as that divine travel agency saying, listen, we're not here to perpetuate an institution. We're not here to duplicate the Byzantine Empire and all of the regalia. Never mind all of the regalia and all the mitres and everything. I've seen rock stars who look better than some of our hierarchs. Okay, get beyond that and look at the real purpose. You cannot duplicate Byzantium. Now it's gone, it's dead. Okay? Now, Byzantine theology, Byzantine lifestyles in the theological sense, yes, but Byzantium was not known as the most accomplished and compassionate of empires.
Especially compassionate. Yes.
Especially compassionate.
Yeah.
So, people have to learn and see these things, and we talk like this to our young people. We have retreats, we have camping, we answer questions, because today kids have questions. How do we deal with gay people? How do we deal with transgender people? How do we deal with all of the issues that would have never been thought about 20, 30, 50 years
True.
ago?
True.
Okay? So, there you go.
So what would you like to say to people that are listening to us as a conclusion to what we just talked about?
I would say ask questions. I would say search, look, talk to your priest and say, why do you do this, Father? Why is the church supported by the government? Do the people not want to contribute to your sustenance if what you're giving them is worthwhile? Why does the church in America and in other parts of the world, the Orthodox Church, survive on its own without government intervention, where the people respond and take care of the needs of the church, if they want it, if they wish it. And people do wish it. Why are we compromised like this with the state? Why are we compromised by the kalupi, the mold that we come in from 400 years? Does a long beard make you holier? Does a kozo with a rubber band make you better? Does you walking the streets of Athens when it's 100 degrees and you've got your raso and you're sweating, does that make you holier? Does not bathing in the monasteries give you the fragrance of Christ? What are these externals that oftentimes occupy? People go to find holiness, and what do they find? They don't find anything more than what they already have. You know what they don't have? We've never been told in the church to read the scriptures for ourselves. We go up on the pulpit and we say, Jesus never talked like that. Jesus never spoke like that. He spoke plainly. He spoke so that people could understand. He spoke in Aramaic, which would be the Horiatico version of our own Katharevusa. He connected with people. He wasn't trapped by the traditions of the Jews. And the Pharisees and Sadducees were constantly criticizing him. So my beloved, go to church on Holy Week, starting on Sunday night of Holy Week, Palm Sunday night, and you'll hear the scriptures. Woe unto you Pharisees, woe unto you hypocrites, you vipers, you snakes. You clean the outside of the cup, yet the inside of the cup is filthy. Woe unto you Pharisees, hypocrites, snakes. You whitewash the tombs of the prophets you killed and stoned, yet inside is the rotting flesh of death. So Jesus was condemned because he was speaking the truth, and Jesus is condemned today when he speaks the truth, because oftentimes the truth contradicts with our own hatreds and biases and prejudices. So when we talk about now March 25th, the Annunciation, Evangelismos, we celebrate freedom. And that means freedom of choice, freedom of religion, and freedom to have our relationship with God through the church, and that the scriptures are not made just to venerate. We go and the priest brings out the gospel, filled with lipstick, but we never open and read it. Sophia orthi, and we stand up. Let us venerate and bow down. Let us venerate and bow down and open the scriptures. Even in Greece, there are versions in the simple Greek that you can read. And you know what we've done here? Don't tell anybody. The cantor here reads the epistle in plain, simple Greek. And our older parishioners say, για πρώτη φορά το κατάλαβα. So that's where we are here. If people disagree and call me a heretic, God bless you. Now, when it comes to Easter, we also have fallen into this mold, this habit. Once the priest has the candle and says, "Δεύτε λάβετε φως," come and receive the light, we spread the light in the church, and then we run off to the mayeritza. Instead of staying for the liturgy, we run off. So I turn my back, let's say, to the congregation for a moment, and the 1,100 people that can come to the church ends up with 600, because they all go home for the mayeritza, they take their candle, they burn something on their door, and that's it. That is an outrage. It's a sin. It's like me being invited to your home for dinner, and right after the salad, I say, I'm leaving now. I'm not interested in the rest. I'm going to go down and get a hamburger. And so it's a pity, but it's something that is passing on and on. And it's an individual who says, παιδί μου, let's stay one more hour για τη λειτουργία. Ας κοινωνήσουμε.
Father Bacchus, you're awe-inspiring, and you talk from the heart, and you touch my heart, and I think that everyone that heard us tonight felt exactly the same thing.
Thank you, my sweet Katerina. And you know, it's like that song that says, "Oh, morfi mu Katerina, tu akse mu Katerina." Anyway, thank you very much, and
Thank you
you
so
bring
much
back good
too.
memories of my youth.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
Kuslam.
you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.